Let me acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister for National Security, the Acting Deputy Chief of Police, the Acting Assistant Commissioner for Police, the both of them, Moses and Maxime, and the other officers of high rank, as well as the members of the public and the media. Thank you very much for being here. The Ministry of National Security, by now you're very familiar with our modus operandi and our interactions with the public. And this is another press briefing to update the public on the recent going-ons of the police. I don't want to say too much because we do have the speakers here who are going to give their reports. But I will call on the Honorable Minister to do a little bit of an opening for us, and then we'll proceed with the other speakers.
Thank you, Madam Permanent Secretary. Good morning, all. Good morning to the Deputy Commissioner of Police Acting and the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Mr. Maxime and Anthony Moses. I recognize all the high-ranking police officers there, Paul, I see Mr. Hill there, Mr. Timothy, and others, members of the media fraternity, Dominicans listening and maybe viewing, I'm not sure. Good morning. Good morning. We're in the Korean festival spirit, so there has to be a sense of more energy in the room. Let me again acknowledge the President of the Permanent Secretary and thank you very much for your support you have been giving to the Minister and the Ministry thus far. I want to take this opportunity firstly to recognize the effort of the police officers so far in trying to clean the streets of legal fire. Let's put our hands together for them. I want to make some general comments this morning before you listen to the Deputy Commissioner of Police and the other officials within the police force, and to say to you that your government is committed to public safety and peace. And that's the mission of the Ministry of National Security and Legal Affairs, consistent with its policy direction and mandate. I want to give the public the assurance and to actually introduce the concept as a nation. And not only the concept, but it's the tradition of peace that we have enjoyed in this country. And we are known historically, regionally, and globally to be a peaceful country. And that is why the mission of the ministry, therefore, going forward, is to promote and to maintain that tradition and to promote and to maintain public safety and peace. Public safety and peace. And to say further, the incidents of gun violence that were witnessed in the recent past, while they are cause for concern, and we should be concerned about those incidents, but we should also guard against the obsession of those events and incidents, because those incidents certainly do not define us as a people. And that is why your government, and with me as a minister for now, is steadfast in ensuring that the police force is provided with all the resources required in order to stop the escalation of gun violence in this country. Therefore, going forward, I'm declaring that gun violence is the number one concern and threat to our peace and our tradition. And therefore, it is my obligation as the minister and duty as a Dominican to ensure that the police is equipped with the personnel, the resources to go after and to jam the brakes quite hard on all the players involved in the syndicate of gun violence in this country, once and for all, and to maintain that tradition of peace that we are known for globally. As we traverse into the Curado Festival, and we invite people throughout the world to come to the number one destination to enjoy themselves. We have a very impressive lineup. It is important for all of us to play our part to maintain that peace. Let me just take the opportunity, therefore, to call on all of us to take a very serious view of gun violence. A number of people have been calling on the minister and the government to do more to address gun violence and gun crimes in this country. And when a more serious approach is being taken to stop the incidents of gun violence, the same people who have been calling for more to be done, they're calling me and messaging me and asking me a question. Who is in Dominica? What purpose are they in Dominica for? Let me just say, therefore, that this unserious and hypocritical approach will not assist us in assisting the police to do their work. Let me just say, whereas the public right to know is important, but the public does not have the right to know every aspect of national security issues in the country. When that happens, we compromise the operations of the police force and thereby putting lives and innocent lives at risk. Let me just reiterate, the public does not have a right to know every aspect of national security of the country. And the minister, as a minister, I have an obligation to the public safety, the public interest, and the national interest of the country. And there are certain things I cannot and will not share with the public. And therefore, if we are serious, and that is why going forward, Madam Pierce, we shall be going to the point where seminars will be actually organized for training for media personnel as to how do you go about reporting matters of crime and national security issues. It is very critical because you too have a right to inform the public, but fundamentally, you have a responsibility to the public interest and to your country. I believe that I need to say that and make it fundamentally clear that this unserious approach and this double standard that some of us practice and seeking to undermine and obstruct police operation, when you have double standard, the consequences you face will double. Let me just make it clear. My vocation is to law and order. That is how I want to live public life. And all of us must therefore, who have tasks and who are paid to perform certain tasks, must show that level of gravitas for that task for which you are paid. So, what have we done as a government to ensure that we confront gun violence frontally? And having said that, let me just repeat, what we're trying to do is to prevent an escalation to a level that is almost parallel to what obtains in another country. We don't want that. Let me just remind you, why we must be concerned, we must guard against the obsession. Because if we are too obsessed over an incident, we may behave like it's an everyday phenomenon. And that is where the element of trepidation, the element of fear emerges. And what's going to happen? People are going to be scared to go to the market. That will not happen in Dominica. What we have done so far as a government, in a press conference, not last week, but previous to last week, with the Prime Minister of this country, with reference to some of the intervention that the government will be undertaking. Starting as a minister who was mandated by law, the formation of the task force to deal exclusively with firearms that has been established. We have to ensure, because the whole issue of confronting gun crimes, we have to ensure that members of the task force are of the right caliber so that operations cannot be compromised, or you try to mitigate against the compromising of operations. As we speak, the ministry, of course, the Permanent Secretary will give instruction by the minister to actually, on behalf of the government, to seek assistance for the polygraphing of every police officer in that unit. As we speak, they are on island, and that is being done. I've also given instruction that if you're polygraphing the members of junior ranks in the task force for the firearm, in the drug squad, in special branch, in the various departments, the gazetted officers to whom they report have to be polygraphed also. We have to have that sense of seriousness in law enforcement. So we're hoping, and I want to thank our regional partners and international partners for assisting us to providing the professionals who are on island doing the various tests, and because that's critical going forward. I want to also say that we have also established what we call an anti-illicit firearms interagency investigative unit, comprising officers from the FIU, Financial Intelligence Unit, the Custom and Excise Duty from the investigative unit, who have been providing tremendous support. And I want to take this opportunity because this fight cannot be fought and won by one set of people. The custom officers, especially those working in the investigative unit, are doing a tremendous job. Let's put our hands together for all of them, because a lot of things cannot be said there. Through their diligence, a number of firearms are continually being intercepted. We also have established, which I gave approval to a couple weeks ago, a specialized unit for community policing. Because whereas a number of folks who are 60 years and 50 years and 40 years were involved in the illegal firearms syndicate, they have made up their mind so to do. They're not going to stop. Unless, sadly, they're caught, they go to jail, or, sadly, Basel will come to them too soon. What we have to ensure, because you're also going to need, apart from the law enforcement intervention, you're also going to need sociological intervention, affirmative action, the engagement, the broader engagement of the community and members of society to save our vulnerable groups, especially our young men who are being used as mules. And I am happy that the community policing unit has been going out and partnering with various agencies and individuals with expertise on the public and the private sector. There should be a national outlook, and I'm calling on the churches, the homes, on all the agencies of socialization to partake in that endeavor, because it cannot be fought by law enforcement intervention only. But fundamentally, the threat has to be confronted, and that is why we're providing the police force with the resources to go after the men and women involved and to actually apprehend those who are responsible. Also, I cannot give details of granular details, of the training, but in the recent past, tremendous training have been provided to our police officers in various forms of firearms investigation. They are now better equipped to investigate and to trace aspects relative to illegal possession and trafficking of firearms. I want to commend again, express on behalf of the government, the support for impacts and all the other agencies, and all internationally and regionally, names I will not mention now. On the 27th of this month, I will not give the absolute detail, but you will see the commencement of work that will significantly enhance the capability insofar as surveillance is concerned in Dominica. If we're going to be successful, the effort has to be effective on ground and sea. And we must be able to see what is happening on our seas. And the need for water platforms by designing boats. I want to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to the government of the United States of America, who will be providing us with the various assets. They provided us with a new boat. We have been getting some issues so far, but in due time, Deputy, and I'm hoping that, as they said, the boat is under warranty, that can be resolved. And to complement what I just spoke about in terms of our intelligence, we'll be getting a good and very quick interceptor, and to ensure that we confront the threat from all fronts and to provide the police the tools of trade that they need. We will be getting later this month for the assistance and instrumentality of impacts, the equipment that will allow for the police officers in Dominica to fire guns that have been used when recovered, either in trafficking and may have been used to commit crime, so that equipment will allow the police to capture the reading of the ballistics. We actually have gotten assistance and a pledge to train 2 young police officers of the foundation in that science itself, or forensic science specific to gun investigation, and that person will be able to testify as a professional. And what these people that we're looking at in the one person, and I hate to use the word persons, but to me that's not a word. And so, so that I've been told the police deputy and the commissioner, who was incidentally on some family emergency, have given me the commitment, and Moses is there by the end of this month. We'll be able to identify and put everything in place for the 2 officers who will be going to Trinidad to pursue a 2-year intensive forensic science course that will allow them to come back. And so all this I'm talking about, that the equipment that will allow the police officers to fire and to capture the ballistic readings are precursors. They are precursors to we having next year our own forensic lab. That is how serious the government is taking this matter. So no longer will we have to depend on sending our firearms, etc., for ballistic reading and interpretation and analysis to either Jamaica or Trinidad. All these things we're doing. We also, you have heard from the Prime Minister when reference was made to, because a number of the shootings, drive-by shootings that have taken place, and people are traveling sometimes with the firearm, they use rentals. So we have engaged Mr. Anthony Laron. There was a first draft for ensuring that the rentals, the tint, what we call DACAs, is of a particular percentage that allow the police to see all the occupants on the vehicle. All the occupants on the vehicle. And also special license plate for rentals. And so Mr. Laron has been given instruction by the minister, and he has said that we'll get it before, but the deadline is October 6th to get the final draft. So you can go to Parliament, the time for talk is over. And we know, from what I've been told by the police and others, the rental owners are already making plans to use normal license plate number in order to trick the police. That too will be dealt with. And we also have to think, because there may be an attempt by those who are committed to commit crime to steal people's private vehicles. So you also have to be mindful of that to ensure that you secure your vehicles, etc. All the things that we're doing, we're looking also at the law. My take on the current gun laws in this country found that it is more stringent than Barbados, than St. Lucia, than Antigua. The only two islands, I believe, are St. Kitts and Jamaica. But what you're seeing that a number of times people are charged and brought before the court on gun-related matters, and they get a pat on the hand, and people hide behind what they call sentencing guidelines, when it is clear that if a particular offense is prevalent, especially one that relates to the taking of human lives and creating an environment of trepidation, all you have to do is to state reasons why you're departing from the sentencing guidelines. And there's nothing wrong in giving a custodial sentence for a first offender who is brought before the court for a very serious matter. And I'm saying again, we are declaring gun violence as the major threat. It's a priority for the ministry and for the police and for the government. So why not, if we're already serious about dealing that matter, why not all of us share or demonstrate that level of seriousness? That's a couple of days ago, someone was caught by the police and with a loaded firearm, and I want to commend the officers for that. Also, it was executed. The person was just entering his house, and the person was found with cocaine, unadulterated, which means pure cocaine. Cocaine is a killer. Cocaine is not a spliff. Look at it. And a number of stolen items and a loaded 9mm. The person was given 1 year sentence and 6 months for the cocaine to run concurrently. Well, the person might just end up spending 6 months in prison. The week before, something similar happened. There was a case where it was the first offense of that individual, and the magistrate then, who realizes that he is part of the society. It is Emile Durkheim, one of my favorite philosophers, who actually has a piece that says, that refers to consensus crime. It simply means when there is a common understanding within society that a particular crime is very serious or one is not serious. And there's consensus between all of us that gun, shooting a man, killing a man or a woman, having a gun, loaded, when there was a gun amnesty program, is a very serious crime, isn't that so? So there's also debate as to some people, the person was found with a number of ammunition. But if you have ammunition, a number of ammunition, the police did not find a gun, especially if you have different type of ammunition, for 9mm, for M16, etc. The police did not get it. It means that they may have the gun somewhere hidden. Do you get my point? No, so the facts of the matter is very important. The magistrate departed from the sentencing guidelines and stated reason. That matter was appealed before the Supreme Court. Now, when a matter is taken before the magistrate court, and let us suppose the person is given a custodial sentence, and the person appeals, that person must be released pending the result of the Superior Court's ruling. So there was a hearing, and you had a panel of 3 appeal judges. And they ruled that the magistrate was right. He gave reasons. That person was given 2 years, and it was said in retrospect he should have gotten 3 years, even if it was his first offense. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because the crime is a prevalent crime. It is very serious, not only in Dominica, but throughout the country. The purpose of the ministry really is try to educate the public too. Because there's a lot of things being said out there from people who do not know what they're talking about. Well, I know. So we're living in an era where what we hear, we believe what we want, and the truth is an offense. But it's Bob Marley who says the truth may be an offense, but not a crime. And that's so all of us, I'm saying that for us to have a sense of seriousness, because not only the police and the government, but all of us have a role to play, and all of us who have roles to play, who are assigned with tasks, especially those of us who have been paid for that task, must demonstrate that level of gravitas. We have a gun amnesty program. It was reported 5, but I know 6 from what I know. Firearms were actually surrendered. All these things that we're doing and giving people the chance, the choice. Now it's time for action. We have been talking a lot. We're providing the police with additional mobility vehicles. And I want to say again that every time I go to the Prime Minister and ask him for resources for the police, they always approve. So, Mr. Deputy, I also spoke to the Commissioner, and we're not hoping, the vehicles are on the way. They have left the last time I checked, they were actually in Dominican Republic. So by the 9th of October, we're going to have 10 additional vehicles. Well, I've asked for more, and the Prime Minister has so approved. That'll take some more time. But let me just place on the record that the police must treat the vehicles the same way they treat their private vehicles. And I've already mandated the Permanent Secretary that there has to be accountability for the use of state resources. That if you're not a assigned driver to a police vehicle and you take the vehicle and you damage it, you have to pay for the damage. And all accidents of police vehicles need to be reported. And you have to go back to the days, Mr. Deputy, I've said so to the Chief already, of having a log for the vehicles. So every driver who takes over the vehicle has to ensure that the log is updated, and there is no inspect the vehicle. That's what we used to do in CID. There's no bunks. I felt like trying something with me, when we were taking over in the morning, and he bunks the vehicle in the corner, because when you go to the gas, by the pump there to get gas, even though a good driver, he bunks the other side there, right? And Mr. Bunks that they put that there well washed, something like that. But my big eye is not useless. I saw that bunks there. That was noted. So I'm saying that those are things, maybe I'm being numerous. These are things that we need to go back to, because l'argent, gouvernement a prend pour gagner voiture, c'est pas ça. And therefore you must take care of something, especially if it's not yours. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we provide the resources. Sorry for being frank, but that nonsense of national government vehicles have to stop. I want to also say, before I end, that those of you who are still thinking and have illegal firearms, I understood from the chief, a lot of people hide now. Some people have left the country. I don't know why. Well, yesterday, something very wonderful happened. When someone called the police, and the person apparently was scared to come to the police to give the police the gun and the ammunition. 9mm is a serious gun, eh? But the police was called on a number that was unknown, and the police was directed where to go to find the ammunition and the gun. And the police went that exact place and also the community, and the police was able to get the gun and the ammunition. And let us put our hands together for that. I think we need more citizens like that. So that is why it's important to keep the pressure. And so those of you who are thinking and still scared, you can do what was done yesterday. As I close, I want to just go back to the commencement of my presentation here this morning, when I said that Dominica has been defined by a tradition of peace, and that we should guard against the obsession over those incidents of bad moments. And then when somebody's shot or a most of the person is dead, that's an incident of a bad moment for all of us. But let us not get too obsessed over that, because that is not what we are. And I'm saying that when we look at the crime statistics, all right, crime, and we isolate the issue of the gun-related matters. Crime in other areas are at a historic low, Mr. Deputy Commissioner of Police. And rape, indecent assault, and cited rape, when you interfere with minors. And anybody who does that should not only go to jail, but whatever you use to violate the life of a young child, a girl, should be, I hold it back. All right? That too is done. Burglary, which of course was the most committed crime. In the early 90s and late 90s, averaging 1,003, 1,004. Last year was 273. This year so far, only 94. Let us think about it, 94. The city of Roseau, or the Roseau catchment area, namely Fokole, Roseau Central, Goodwill. Historically, these are the areas where you have the most burglaries in Dominica. Historic lows, so far, 94. That's the lowest in the region. It's the lowest it has been in the history of Dominica since not only independence, since the days of Mr. late great, may so rest in peace, Iwo Libra, when he was chief minister and premier. I'm saying that as an indication as to what defines us as a people. Peace. So let us not make these three incidents of gun violence define us. We can do much better than that. But if we don't act as we're doing now, we run the risk of having something similar to what obtains in other countries. That's what I wanted to say. And to say to you, members of the public, my apologies, but the public does not have a right to know every aspect of national security. And I have a responsibility to ensure that that remains so. If we do that, if we talk about everything that the police is going to do, it doesn't make sense to have national security, that doesn't make sense to have police. So let us all work together, cooperate with the police, and let us strive to continue to promote Dominica as the most peaceful part on earth. Again, the mission of the ministry and your government is one of public safety and peace, and anyone or any group who intend, by way of their manifest behavior, to disrupt that peace will be dealt with frontally. I thank you very much.